It's fair to say that one of the biggest updates coming to Conan Exiles will be releasing pretty soon, and one of the main additions to this update is going to be horses. So here are some things we know about them so far. I'm gonna start off by saying that the volcano is not a good place for riding a horse. Not only are there a lot of rocks that you can get stuck on and cliffs that you can fall off, but there's also lava that can kill your horse pretty fast. Now what happens if you fall off a cliff while riding your horse? Then both you and your horse are gonna take damage. But what if you fall off a bigger cliff? Then this is kinda weird because you're gonna die from all the damage that you're gonna be taking, but not your horse. It seems that they don't take a lot of damage from higher cliffs. Horses can also swim, but you are going to be a big target when you're doing this. You can also go underwater, but only to a certain depth, and you can swim faster by using stamina. So what happens if you log off while riding a horse? Well, it's simple. Your player just gets off the horse and just lays on the ground, like my brother's character did right here. Then your horse is gonna wait for you there for a few minutes and then go back to its original spot where you got it from. Kinda like thralls and other pets. Now here I was checking out to see if you can do more damage while being on a horse. I tried all types of weapons, including the lance. But it turns out that you don't. You still do the same amount of damage, with the difference being that the lance might do 3 or 2 more damage than normal. So it's something not to worry about. Now here I wanted to see if I can jump from a really high place, land on my horse and not take any damage. But no, you take full damage if you land on your horse. Another thing, and I don't know why the developers did this, is that whenever you're riding your horse you cannot interact with anything. So you're not going to be able to use your E button at all. Like you see here, I cannot open this gate. I have to get off my horse and then I can open it. You also cannot drink water because that requires the E button as well. However, you can drink an item out of your inventory if you have one. We can keep going with this because you cannot farm while being on a horse. Here I'm trying to grab some plant fiber, but again, I can't because the E button doesn't work. You also cannot equip any farming tool while riding a horse. You also cannot interact with any obelisk, but your horse is not going to gain any corruption either. And lastly, you cannot use any map room while riding a horse. Aside from not being able to equip any farming tools, you also cannot equip the rope to capture thralls. And that would have been a cool feature of you knocking a thrall and then dragging it with a horse. Now for some reason you cannot access the inventory of your horse while you're riding it. You have to get off and then manually do it. So the one thing you can do though when it comes to interacting with other players and items in the world, you can press the loot all button, which on PC is the F button. You can loot all from other players, chests, loot bags and vaults. Here I got encumbered, and this is how your horse is going to be moving if you're encumbered. One thing to note is that your horse is going to be moving at that slow pace even if you have 50 encumbrance in your attributes. Okay, now while being encumbered, can you kill someone if you land on top of their head while riding a horse? And the answer is yes, you can. Now let's talk about some combat and movement mechanics. Horses can run over bombs and light them up, as you can see right here. They also take damage from explosives, of course, but it's not going to be a lot. Their movement is also affected by grease orbs, but you're barely going to notice that because you're going to be running over them really fast. So it's not a problem. You can also cripple a horse and make them bleed. So yeah, they can suffer from any effect that you can apply to pets, thralls, or a player's character. So I think a lot of you may know that if you get run over by a horse, then your character is gonna get knocked down. But you can also dodge away from that. You can also dodge away from lance charges. But you can also take damage as you're rolling, so you kind of have to time your dodges. You really gotta be careful though not to get hit by those things. One funny thing that we saw is that if a rider's holding out his lance and if you run towards it, then you're gonna take damage. So we were thinking maybe you can camp outside someone's base and they won't be able to get out through the door because they'll be taking damage and being pushed back. But you can use a shield to block the lance attack. But the rider can counter that by aiming for your head, and you'll take damage from that lance. They can also run you over while you're holding the shield, and you'll get knocked down. Another method of avoiding getting knocked down by a horse is you can pull out a katana or any weapon that has hyper armor. You can also hit players that are on top of foundations, if you position yourself correctly. Here I'm using a sword, and then a spear. Right here I was testing out if the horse takes any damage from shatter springs, and it doesn't, but that's because I'm wearing a gas mask here. So I take it off, and my horse is taking damage now. You can see here that stamina is draining now. This also happens when a sandstorm hits. If you have your gas mask, then everything's good. And now if you take it off, then both you and your horse are going to be taking damage. Now the good thing about being on a horse is that you're gonna have infinite stamina while shooting arrows or while doing any attack. Now that's actually a good thing because when you go out raiding you can shoot explosives and poison arrows until you run out of ammo without having to worry about running out of stamina. One thing to note though about shooting arrows from a horse is that you're not going to be able to shoot them to your right side. I don't know, for some reason, every time you aim to the right and try to shoot, you can't. Your character either won't shoot arrows or face forward or backwards. Now this is something to remember about poison gas. Though your horse is not going to take any damage while you're wearing a mask on shatter springs, it is however going to take damage if someone shoots poison arrows at you. So here I'm wearing a mask and my horse is still taking damage and is losing stamina. So this is really a good way to do damage to other players that are riding horses. Because if they take enough damage and the horse runs out of stamina, then the rider is going to get dismounted and he's going to be out of stamina as well. Here I have an example of shooting my brother with poison arrows. And he's taking a lot of damage and his horse is running out of stamina as well. This is deadly, man. What are you gonna do right there? What are you gonna do? Oh no, that horse is gonna die. And finally, when it comes to leveling up your horse, you don't really have to ride it. You can have it on follow and kill some monsters and your horse will still be getting experience from the kills. But anyways, that's some of the things that we know about horses so far, and hopefully you learned something by watching this video. I also have the link to the Discord that we use, so feel free to join us. And again guys, thank you for watching.